Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Rebellious Wellness Lifestyle. Today, my guest is Michelle Walters, and we're going to talk about the mind. We're going to go deep inside the mind. Whether you are working in a leadership role, whether you are working newly retired and you're thinking about the leadership of your own life, we're going to get into all of it. But let me tell you a little bit about Michelle. She is an imagination advocate, and I absolutely love that phrase. She helps individuals and organizations with their message, mindset, and momentum. She's also a clinical hypnotherapist, a marketing coach, a speaker, and an author. And she just created this app, which sounds very cool, although I haven't tried it yet. It's called MakeMyHypno.com, and it's an audio hypnosis generator which blends her passion for hypnosis marketing and AI. I've never heard of that before. That's wonderful that you're doing something
I'm
brand new.
new. Yes.
Brand new. And Oakland Magazine said that you are the best of the best professional business coach for 2024. Congratulations on that. And she has two books, An Alignment of the Spirit, Finding Work You Love, and the ABCs of Conscious Leadership. Welcome to you, Michelle.
Thank you, Greg, I guess I'm
Yeah, Greg
excited to
is
be
fine.
here today.
So when I saw your profile, one of the things that stuck out is that you do a delineation or you put in relationship hypnosis and meditation. They're clearly not the same, but I was intrigued. Can you tell us why are they in the same space in your mind?
Yeah, they're very related. They're similar. And I get this question all the time. What's the difference between hypnosis and meditation? And the simplest answer is that hypnosis is like meditation, but with a goal.
Hmm.
Usually, meditation is in itself hard to define, right? You can
Yes.
be meditatively walking, you can be emptying your mind, you can be mantraing, you can be doing all kinds of things, and we call all of that meditating. Hypnosis is a similar kind of trance state of the mind, but the big difference is that you do hypnosis because you're working towards a goal. So it's not just an emptying of the mind, you're actually working to relieve your stress or to change a pattern of behavior or that kind of a thing. And I think because we're such a goal-oriented
Yeah.
society, hypnosis works really well for people, even people, it works well for people who meditate, but it also works well for people who struggle with meditation because I think just the objective part of having a goal makes it much easier for people to be able to go, oh, okay, I can do this. I see the point of this.
Yeah, because often with hypnosis, I think the teaching that I've experienced, and I've tried a bunch of different ones, is to have no goal. To have
Right,
no, you're mindless, right? You're supposed to, like you said,
right.
empty your mind, just let whatever comes. And, but then
And that's
there's,
all
of
great.
course, yeah,
Space for that. Absolutely, there's
yeah.
space for that. But I meet a lot of people, particularly professional people or even retired people who were professional people at some point, where we're just so goal oriented
Yeah.
in our Western society world that they find hypnosis and hypnotherapy to be easier,
Hmm.
actually, because it's more kind of in keeping with their thinking practices.
Now, I have used hypnosis not to relieve stress or necessarily to have a goal that I needed to achieve, but I used it to tap into a part of my history that I couldn't remember.
Hmm?
And that was really cool. Do you ever find that affects how somebody progresses through a goal, like going deep into it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Going back to lost memories is something that comes up often. I wouldn't say every time, but
Mm.
often with clients. Sometimes some people have simple problems. I lost my rings and I don't know where to find them. I've had that show up. I've also have a lot of people who they're working on something bigger, maybe anxiety or maybe a really bad negative personal habit, maybe it's overeating or hair pulling or something like that. And we dig a little deeper and discover that there are these memories, stories, events, whatever they are, locked up in somebody's subconscious that once we can bring it to light, we can surface it and look at it and say, what was going on? I was just a little girl. It was a long time ago. It was a different kind of thing. We can find ways to heal those experiences.
Mm.
And often when somebody has a story that gives meaning to their phobia, a story that gives meaning to their to whatever it is they're trying to solve, it's a whole lot easier to solve that problem. I had a client years ago who came to me and she was paranoid of bumblebees, just
Oh,
terrified. And to the point that she would run from her car door to the office, like across the field or across the way, because she was so worried she'd get stung between the car door and the office. She'd never been stung in her lives.
oh,
And in hypnosis, what surfaced was a memory of being a little girl sitting with her mother in a garden. And then it turned out that the garden was at a hospital. And she and her mother were sitting side by side in this garden at the hospital, and there were bumblebees and flowers and that kind of a thing in the garden. And her mother told her that they were there because they were waiting while her big sister was upstairs having life-saving kidney surgery. And so this little girl crisscrossed this idea of her big sister might die with the bumblebees.
oh dear. Hmm.
And so once we revealed that, then it was like, oh, there's a meaning behind this. She was 6 years old. Her sister survived the surgery. But
Thank
when
you.
you're six, you're very impressionable.
Hmm.
And so this subconscious thought got in the way, and it was part of what had been making this overcoming the phobia of bumblebees so hard.
Interesting.
So I find it fascinating. I run into these stories all the time in my work.
Yeah, I'll bet. And what a surprise for the person to
Yeah, she
have
had
that.
no memory of this, none at
Yeah,
all.
yeah. Yeah, because memory is selective anyway, and they say the more emotion, the more you remember something. But then if you don't remember, but you know that there was an emotion, you're putting the pieces together with hypnotherapy. You have emotion around this because these things happen that your mind just didn't log or put aside
Mm-hmm.
because it was too traumatic or scary.
It put aside because it was too traumatic.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I take people back to prior memories, they are fully aware and conscious of what this was all about. It's something they've reprocessed, replayed in their mind a number of times or on constant repeat. And sometimes people, like this example, recall, imagine, I don't know what you want to call it, but a story, a new story. And those can be really helpful and healing.
I'll tell you a short version of my one. This was a different hypnosis experience, but my dad died right before I was born, so clearly never met him. And for a long time, I thought, like, I have to meet my dad somehow. But I went into this hypnosis session thinking I want to meet my dad. I want to know something about him, not meet him necessarily, but I need to go back in time to. Anyway, what happened was my mother was in the hospital for 3 days till we went home. And I had no knowledge of this. She never talked about the time after he died. And what I got to see through hypnosis was me being brought in to this woman who was completely devastated with grief and being in that bed with her because I guess she didn't want to see me. But the nurse said, no, you have to, here's your baby. But to feel that I never knew what my mother went through all our years of her struggling with that. But
Right.
that in its own way, it was sad, but it really was comforting to know that she did want me there and I somehow helped her, I think, want to have some kind of life after that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm sure you brought her great joy. But that would be a big gap, Greg, to not
Yeah.
have mentioned that.
Yeah.
And these kinds of things come up too. People run into dead relatives, people, dead dogs show up. That's another favorite. I think that when we're in this life, the people and animals and places sometimes that we are associated with all kind of connect to our energy. And in hypnosis, it's one way. It's not the only way, but it's a
Right.
very proven way of being able to reconnect with some of those energies that have been lost to us because somebody died, the dog died.
And again, a time of high emotion. But if it's too
Exactly.
much emotion, then the brain kind of says, no, we don't want you to have to remember that.
Sometimes the brain shuts it out.
Yep. Yep. So tell me how all of this relates to business coaching.
It relates to business coaching because hypnotherapy is really I don't know, the super arrow in a business person's quiver. When you are trying to get a hold of those three things that I help people focus on, their mindset, their message, and their momentum, hypnosis can do so much to surface what are any subconscious blocks that you have going on and to enable you to really crystallize a vision about what it is you're trying to do and potential ways to get there.
Hmm.
And you may not know exactly how you're going to get there, but when you can really call in that image, that vision of things, it helps to magnify both your energy and the energy of those around you to bring that into being. So I work with business people sometimes on a conscious level, right? Sometimes it's a matter of let's look at what you're doing and what's not working. And sometimes it's a matter of, okay, let's know what that is and then see if there's something that needs to be explored at a subconscious level because that's the piece we need to pull out. I had a client a year or so ago who was a realtor and he was really shy. And it's not good to be shy if you're a
No.
realtor. And so this was hanging him up. And we did some hypnotherapy work and revealed a number of things about his past and his childhood and kind of how he'd felt and how he connected with his parents or didn't.
Hmm.
And as part of that process came forward, it enabled him to let go of a lot of that social anxiety and be able to chart his plan forward so that he had the confidence and he had this is my job. I've got to get out there, meet people and shake hands, which key for a realtor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they have to do it so many times with so many different parties, even if they're getting the sale. There's a lot
Yeah.
going on before
Yeah.
that.
Realtors, it's a constant meet new people, build new relationships business.
The word leadership is generally spoken of in the circles of businesses, corporations, small business, whatever. But I think about my own leadership in my life, in small ways in my community. I wonder if you could speak about leadership, your experience of leadership for people that are exiting the workforce, who won't be in that position that they've held.
I think leadership is important throughout one's life. It takes a very different shape and form at age 15, from age 50 to age 65 or 70. You're dealing with leading different kinds of projects, different kinds of people, different kinds of things. But the essence of leadership is always about who are you?
Mm,
It always comes back to how can you be the best you? And whether you are, I don't know, piloting a new project for your company at age 40, or you are figuring out how to better arrange the classes at the center in your 50s or 60s, these are all leadership skills. And being a good communicator, living in integrity, being honest, and sharing with people, these are the kinds of things that make for good leaders. I felt so passionate about leadership that earlier this year I wrote a book called The ABCs of Conscious Leadership. I put the word conscious in there very intentionally because I do think there are some leaders in today's world that are going awry, not really being consistent in terms of thinking about everybody and how do we take care of one another
mm.
and how do we get on the same page? How do we listen and develop? But my little ABCs book just goes through the alphabet. It's very easy to read. Each letter represents a trait of a conscious leader, and I tell a little story, and then I pull out somebody from history that I thought represented that trait. So A is for authentic, and I tell a story about me being authentic, and then I talk about Abe Lincoln because I
Of
think
course.
Abe as a pretty authentic guy. And then I've got a little affirmation in there. And that's how the book goes through. So if somebody is looking for some light and easy, but waking up the right ideas for leadership, my book's a great read.
I want to know what Z is. Who did you come
You'll
up
have
with
to
for
read it.
C? Okay, fair dues.
Z was hard, not just for what the letter was going to stand for, but who was I going to talk about?
Yeah, exactly. That's great.
I'll give you a hint. The person I name for Z is Zig Ziglar.
Oh my gosh. Zig Ziglar was the first personal development big event that I ever went to. I can't even 30 some odd years ago. And I think we laughed from start to finish, but it was so impactful the way he delivered it and his message. He's certainly, I mean, he's the gold standard of speaking and sales.
Exactly. And in my case, zeal.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, that's great. Wow, you must have had fun doing this book.
I had a lot of fun putting the book together.
Okay, let's talk about your app, makemyhypno.com. Explain this intersection of AI and meditation and
So I have a rather unusual background. I have not met many other hypnotherapists who came from the world of marketing and putting together apps for companies and that kind of a thing. And with the advent of I was thinking, where's this going to go? What's this going to be like? Everything's going to change. Do I want to get on the AI train or do I want to be run over? What suits you, Michelle? And so a couple of months ago, I was like, if I was going to do something with this, what could I do? And the idea, inspiration came to me to use my background and the amazing available tools that are out there today to put together something that is new and completely one of a kind. So I record for an app. It's called Aura, and they have thousands of pre-recorded hypnosis, meditation.
this. Okay.
It's an app, and I've been recording for them for years, and they have great materials. But of course, everything that's on Aura is by nature pre-recorded. It's not made unique for a particular individual. My observation and the training of my hypnotherapy school and most of them is that people will get the most benefit out of having things that are custom, made just for them. And so I thought, wow, I wonder if there's a way that I could make custom hypnosis recordings for people that spoke specifically to them and what they wanted. And they weren't off the shelf, they were made just for them. And so between my tech background and AI and all these things, I put it together and came up with a way to create self-hypnosis recordings made for people in a matter of just minutes that are really good. They combine my directions about how to compose a script, what kinds of things to put in, what that should look like, what kinds of metaphors, what kind of words to use. And then it duplicates my voice based on training it in my voice and creates a custom recording for the client in about 5 minutes.
Wow.
So to a little form on makemyhypno.com. It's very easy to find. And you put in your name. If you don't want your name in the recording, you could put something like higher self or something. But I think the recordings work really well with people's names in them. So I put the names in there, and then you pick one of 19 different topics. You can't do this for everything. It will not work for certain topics. And so they're just not on the list of things to choose.
Mhm.
And then you choose where you want the recording to be, where you want to imagine yourself being. So you might choose to be on a windy alpine mountain, or someone else
Mhm.
might want to be on a moonlit beach. Like you get to make it where you want it. And then there's a place for you to put in some additional details. So you can put in a favorite affirmation. You can say, maybe if you were making one to eat more healthy, you could say, please help me stop eating at night. You can put in some personal details there. And the whole thing goes into the magic maker machine, and it sends you an email in about 5 minutes with your custom recording. And then I recommend that people listen to their recording 2 or 3 times a week. Part of what makes hypnotherapy effective is repetition. And that's why I wanted to make sure that people could get this, and then just you can save it down to your phone or your computer or tablet so that it's easy to listen to over and over again. It is fantastic for many things. There are some problems that I can solve individually with people that are not on the list. Like I help people with smoking, I help people with phobias, I help people with some things that are not as conducive to the app generation. But if you're looking for confidence or stress or healthy eating or more exercise, the app will make those.
That is so cool. Very
Yeah,
cool.
I think it's really cool. I think it's going to be what people want as opposed to off the shelf recordings because they're so much better.
Yeah, and it seems that everything is trending towards customization, personalization, bespoke, nutrigenomics, personalized medicine, because we're more and more realizing we are really not the same, all of us.
No, we're not the same. I thought it was funny. I was doing some work the other day in a Starbucks and I thought, curious. So I looked it up. Apparently, 20% of Americans drink their coffee black, and 80% of Americans drink their coffee some other tailored kind of way. And maybe that's not the perfect comparison. People like things the way they like them.
Oh, right.
And this is a way to achieve that goal.
Yeah. Now, for people that don't do apps, because I know some people don't even want to look at their phone, you do have an Etsy shop
I do have an
where
Etsy shop.
people
Yep.
can buy recordings of
Yes.
hypnotherapy that you offer.
Yes, absolutely. I have an Etsy shop. And to be clear, my app is actually a .com. I will probably migrate it to
Okay.
the phone store and the Google Play Store at some point. But right
Okay.
now, you can order this recording from your phone or from your computer. And you wouldn't
Got
find
it.
it in the App Store. You would find it just searching in a
Good clarification.
that was my intention. I don't want people to have to go to my website to listen to their recording. They should just be able to put it on their
Right.
phone so they can listen to it when they're on the train or don't listen to it when you're driving.
Yes, I
Be
understand.
able to listen to it if
No,
you're on the train or on the bus.
I'm
So,
that bad person where they say, if you're driving, turn this off, but I want to hear it. I don't have to do it right now. I just want to hear what
well,
it.
the recordings are apparently so good that I've had multiple people testing it out saying, "Oh, I listened to it. I was falling asleep, but I couldn't really hear what it was because I just went to sleep."
Oh, that
And
is good.
in case you're worried about that, you should know that you shouldn't be worried because your subconscious mind listens all the time, whether you are awake or you perceive yourself to be asleep. So the message is getting into your brain either way.
Yeah, that story I told you about that great hypnosis session I had when I was lying on a table facing a window and it was bright daylight when I went in, probably 2 in the afternoon. This was in Southern California, very bright outside. And I thought that I was present, conscious the whole time. But it turns out when I opened my eyes, it was almost dark. It wasn't just dusk. Like so much time had passed, but I was just in the story. I had no idea that I wasn't
Yeah.
watching the light change behind the shades. It was very interesting. But I still
Yeah.
got all of it. I got everything that I was intent. I still remember the conversation right now. I can tell you
Yeah.
some of the things that she
That's
said.
really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's called time distortion.
Okay.
And it's very common in hypnosis that time can seem to be longer or shorter. Like it can go either direction. But a lot of times, especially when I'm working with groups, I'll do a group hypnosis for a number of people together and I'll ask them when we're done, how long do you think that was? And many of them are like, oh, 5 minutes. And I'll be like, yeah, it was 30.
Yeah. Now, you have a podcast. I love the name. It's called Mind Power Meets Mystic. Tell us
Yep.
about that.
So my podcast, Mind Power Meets Mystic, is about 3 years old. I started it and do it with a friend of mine. I'm the Mind Power because that's my Instagram handle. It's my YouTube channel, Mind Power Junkie. And my co-host is Cynthia Varkevisser. She is a mystic. She's like an intuitive healer, a channeler. She's amazing in that regard. And the two of us talk to all kinds of people about all kinds of things. We've talked to spiritual healers. We've talked to an Enneagram expert. Sometimes for the holidays, we'll talk to really funky people. Oh, I think we had a sex therapist for Valentine's Day, and we had a ghost hunter for Halloween one year. And so it's a fun place to go and listen, especially if you're curious about things that are invisible or inexplicable. There are episodes with just me, just Cynthia, both of us, and then a number of guest episodes as well. So,
Now, you offer a session with you and Cynthia, and tell me about that.
so Cynthia and I have our podcast, Power Meets Mystic, the podcast. And then we have a very special product called Mind Power Meets Mystic, the product, for lack of a better name.
There you go.
Because Cynthia and I have been good friends and we're not business partners, but our businesses send people back and forth sometimes. We developed a product about maybe a year ago or so where it's a 1 hour Zoom call and it starts off with Cynthia. So the client signs on to the call, sees both of us there. And then Cynthia does a quick reading for that person based upon what her energetic guides are coming up with. Usually, either the client can show up with no questions, or the client can bring I want to amplify this or I want to decrease that. And Cynthia will have a message about it. And then Cynthia and I listen, but I don't participate. I just listen to what all of that is. I know how to interpret Cynthia. And that's not to say that her clients don't, but I have
Right.
when she says this, oh, I've heard her say that to these kinds of people. I get what that's supposed to be about. And so then Cynthia goes away and I check in with the client. And then I do a hypnosis recording on Zoom with the client right then and there. So I'm taking all of the to-dos from Cynthia and putting them into the hypnosis recording. The client leaves the session with the full Zoom video of the whole thing, but also an MP3 of just the hypnosis recording.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's a great way for somebody to be able to get this big download and then turn it into a visualization that they can see themselves doing and then play it over and over again to help them overcome that thing, attract the new guy, go where they want to go in their business. She's really good at stuff like that, and I'm good, but my technique's different, and we just found this great way to pair them.
Well, it sounds like a great combination. Yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit of both
It's a
things.
little bit of both. And we've had a number of people who were like, I've never had a reading before. I don't know what that would be like. And this is a nice way to try something like that. It's just
Mhm.
a little reading. She's really good. I've never met her guides, but they're impressive. They come through and then turn it into something that people can see happening in their lives.
Which is what we really want. I think, I won't speak for everybody, obviously, but I think when I go and search, if I want a reading or if I'm reading a new book or listening to a personal development with something in my head, I then want somebody to translate that into what can I do with this information? Like, because information is all
Well,
around me.
and Cynthia ends her session with it, do these three things.
Oh,
So she
okay.
does tell people that. But part of where all this came from is oh, I tell people to do this, and then they don't call me back 6 months or a year later because they're worried that they didn't do the three things I told them to do when I don't even remember what I told them. And I was like, oh, I can handle that part. Put it into a hypnosis recording, which I mean, the other wonderful thing about these recordings that I make, either when I do them individually or through Make My Hypno, is that it allows you to just do them as you fall asleep. You don't have to actually dedicate a whole lot of time to this effort, but it really does help to point your subconscious mind in a productive direction.
I like that. My productive mind could use some direction many days.
For you and your listeners, I have a special discount code that I will
Oh,
give
that's
you to put
awesome.
in the show notes. I'll be sure and pass along the link for you, and people can get 25% off of makemyhypno.com.
That's really great. Thank you so much for that. So the website, listeners, is Michelle, two L's, Walters.net. And everything we talked about, you can find there and more. The other book that we didn't get a chance to talk about, her services, classes, and events. Some are local to you. I guess you're in Oakland, and some
Yeah.
are remote. Yeah.
Yeah, some are local to me, but many of my classes and events are online.
Yeah.
Do a free hypnosis session online every month on a Friday at noon Pacific. And that's you can get the data from that, find out when it is, and all that is on my classes page. It's a good page to go to for kind of my stuff.
I would say for anybody listening who hasn't had hypnosis, that sounds like a perfect entry point. You don't have to come with a big, I need to quit smoking or I need to leave my partner or you can just go and relax and see what
You just
happens
go and
kind of thing.
relax. And I change the topics every month, but every month it's something really that kind of works for almost everybody. So I think last month was balance. October will probably be about like letting go. Like, there,
Goblins and ghosts? No.
maybe not goblins. They're on very easy, approachable topics. And so if you've never experienced, some people are like, I don't want somebody taking over my thoughts. I don't want somebody telling me to quit my job and I'll quit my job. And that's not what I wanted to do. That's not how it works.
Right.
It's much more gentle than that. But that free session is a great way to see what it is and be able to get over any nerves you have.
Yeah, and I guess we should mention those television spoofs where people are up on the stage doing the chicken dance and whatever else. Is that possible that you could actually hypnotize somebody to the point where they have no idea what they're doing and they're making a fool of themselves?
Here's the thing is that your subconscious is all about protecting you. And in a big room with lots of people, you're going to run into a few people whose subconscious is, yeah, sure, it's okay to stand on a stage and do the chicken dance. That's fine with me. It's just the law of
Yeah.
numbers. And even if people look a little silly to members of the audience, their subconscious can pull them off the stage if it thinks that's not where they should be.
Oh,
So,
interesting. Okay.
you can't make somebody do anything in hypnosis that they're not aligned with doing.
Mm.
When you try and suggest to somebody that they do something in hypnosis that they don't believe or they think is crazy, really the only thing that can happen is they wake up.
Good to know. Good to
So,
know. So join that noon thing, PS time, Pacific time, and I promise you won't be doing any chicken dances.
no, no chicken dances at my noon thing. Thank you
Okay.
so much, Greg. This has been so much fun. I really
This
appreciate
really
it.
has been fun. It has been a great conversation. I learned a lot, and I appreciate you. And I hope that anybody listening who's interested in hypnosis will give you a chance to prove to them that it's a pretty strong, pretty cool thing.
Thank you, Greg.
Be well till next time, peeps. I'll be back next week with another fabulous guest.